I'm going to remove the shared screen. Wait, maybe I can't do that. Can you do that, Rebecca? Oh. I removed the toolbar for sharing the screen and, oh, no.
I think it might be good because if someone has a question, then you don't have to bring it back up. So we can
Okay.
just open it up if someone has a question for Daniela.
So I can go back to the start.
So you just have to unmute yourself. Any questions?
So I have a question for people. Can someone tell me about their own goals for their seed library?
Oh, and yeah, we have a lot of that in the chat. So a lot of it was protecting varieties, food access, food security, increasing, sustainability and increasing rate of return of seeds. So a lot around, some about food history and stories, educating the next generation, climate adaptation.
Great.
Yeah. So what are some of the things, Daniela, that you're just like in terms of, oops, we have a new message. Someone else just pop something in there.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the seed library slides. Yeah.
Let's see. So someone's just talking about that they're, this is in Boone, North Carolina. They have 500 packets of seeds and they're putting together 3 little free seed libraries to place in the county because the seed library is located in the public library, which is closed, growing our own food. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what we're experiencing, so COVID-19 is such a great example of what's on the horizon, I think, and seed libraries are scrambling like everyone else to respond to this and doing really well from what I see. But the thing about this is that it's showing us that individual responses are important, but they're not sufficient, that we need to organize together and we need to tap into the power of being a group to be able to organize those seeds, to create access to them, and to respond really effectively under these kinds of circumstances. And it's very, very much, I think, similar to what we're going to be experiencing with climate change, that we're not going to be able to each keep watering our gardens more. That won't work. We're going to run out of water, for one thing. We're going to have to organize how we respond in a more social, a more collaborative way. And so this is just a preview, I think. And a lot of people are saying that, I know.
Yeah. What other strategies? So you're mentioning about the mulching and other things. What are other strategies that you've been coming across in your research in terms of kind of drier, hotter, more erratic, weather patterns that you're kind of seeing in the research as being, or in just traditional farming practices that you've seen as being helpful?
So about 10 years ago, I was working in Mali and with a graduate student from here who was doing research in the sorghum growing areas of Mali. We're sorghum farmers. And one of the things that you notice right away when you're talking to people about seeds is that farmers in southern Mali, which is wetter than northern Mali because northern Mali is in the Sahel, close to the Sahara, that they have been getting seeds, southern farmers have been getting seeds from northern Mali for a long time, for over 30 years, because they've noticed that they've been getting increasingly drier growing seasons. And so they're accessing varieties from areas that are really what their area is becoming. And I think that that same pattern is occurring already in this country. I mean, we're seeing commercial maize production is moving north as the climate's warming. And the same thing is going to is true and is going to be even more true for gardeners. And that's why I think really making alliances between regional seed saving groups and regional seed libraries will be really valuable, because you'll be able to do this kind of exchange maybe across latitudes with areas that are similar to what your area is becoming. So they have always experienced temperatures that are the ones you're going to be having as your normal, your new normal. So that's a very powerful method that people are using and have been using for a long time. And then others are more specific and local. And I know a lot of you are very active gardeners and are very familiar with, things like mulching and shading. When you have any plants that are fruit producers in the summer, like tomatoes, chilies, eggplant, even squash, you always have the question of whether the pollen development is going to be affected by really high temperatures. And so shading can help. It can make a big difference up to a point. So that's something to look at, being careful to plant away from sources of radiant, heat. So you're not getting your garden bed next to a brick wall that's radiating, it's gathering and radiating even more heat into your garden bed at night. A lot of different methods. So the vertical mulching is another great one, very effective for making good use of water. You're not using any plastic. It just basically disintegrates and turns into compost, into improving your soil structure. So it's another great method to use.
Yeah, I can imagine that will be a topic. That will be a topic for a future conversation, is being able to have just about what do we do in hotter, drier climates in terms of our growing, and what strategies and varieties and species are we going to want to be thinking about in the near future. Awesome. So are there any, I can see we're a little bit over time. Is there anybody who would like to ask a question before we wrap things up?
Yes. Hi, I have a question. It's Lex. Can you speak a little bit more about the like community building that happened through the project you were talking about, where you didn't build the physical bank, but you built kind of the, listserv, and people connected to each other through that, like how that contributed to the community building between those farmers at all, and just like people in that community, and just a little bit more about that model.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's a model, but it worked there. So this is at the Pueblo Zuni, Native American tribe in Western New Mexico, a very small community. And like all small communities, there are people that don't want to have anything to do with other people, like we all have experience with. And so this was well before widespread internet. So there wasn't a listserv, there was an actual list. But what people said, I don't think it changed their relationship to each other, but it changed their feeling about themselves as Zuni farmers and gardeners, and it changed their feeling about what their community as a whole could do to support them as Zuni farmers and gardeners, because they didn't have interaction with other people. They simply brought their seeds or their request to the project and gave us those. And then others would come with their seeds or their request, and they would get, what someone had left before, or give something that someone else could use later. And that is how it overcame the social limitations. And that's just, one example, but I think it does represent what seed libraries do in other contexts, maybe not because people are not wanting to interact directly, but because people just don't know each other and there's no nexus for the seeds and the requests and the knowledge and the experience to gather, and for people to take what they need from that. And so I think doing what you all are doing by creating these institutions that allow people to come there for different things, whether it's seeds or knowledge, is very powerful and can build community depending on how you organize it. And if you build in some sort of interaction or you intentionally don't. So that's what, you know, that particular situation was built for, was for being able to avoid the interaction directly, but just having a community-wide entity. Does that help?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just thinking about different, like one of the things that we're thinking about here is both like the access and all of the things that you named, and also the piece that's like, this is also a project of organizing people in community and getting people in relationship to each other and building stronger relationships and all of that. And how can the seed library be a hub for that type of thing, and not just us giving or receiving seeds, right? Like the piece where people get connected to each other while also seeing, like, you know, balancing that with being most effective and all of those things.
Yeah, I think that's so important. But it also, you know, it might be possible that not requiring that connection, at least initially, will encourage people, will encourage, you know, that sort of personal barrier won't be there for them. I don't know. I don't know your community, but you know, in a lot of places, people are shy or people are reluctant and don't have experience with the kind of generous organizations that you're talking about. So, you know, it could be that not requiring direct interaction, at least initially, might be a valuable first step.
At this point, it's the only step we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you're doing it all on Zoom.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Well, I just want to really, once again, thank Daniela for taking time out to do this and share her book. And once again, her book is like a font of like amazing resources. So you definitely should check it out. I will send an email again to everybody who showed up, and I'll post it on the Cool Beans and the Upbeat, so you'll be able to see this, and then also kind of get a link to her website, and then of course, I mean, to the book. But also just like, we'll keep you posted on what resources come out of this collaborative project that we're doing with her around the bean breeding, because this is a multi-year project. And we're just putting things in the soil now. So
that's right. We're just starting.
Determined.
Also, I will give you our previous book, Food from Dryland Gardens, is all available free online. And I will give you that link, Rebecca, to post if you want, because it might be, particularly in Puerto Rico, it might be really useful.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very useful to many of us. California, we definitely feel that here. Okay, any last little things before we take off? Awesome. Okay, so once again, thank you, Daniela. Thank you, folks, for showing up. I know it's kind of a crazy world that we're all in right now, and so not everyone's even checking work emails anymore. Yeah. Okay, doke. So once again, take care of yourselves, and we are going to be having a seed library meeting. I don't know, when's that coming up again? Sometime soon. It'll be posted. Oh, this Thursday from 6 o'clock, we're going to be having another seed library meeting, and I will post that on the Upbeats, and also I'll put out a little Cool Beans notice if you want to join us for that. Just figuring out what's happening right now and how we can support each other. So once again, we're not all having to reinvent the wheel. We're just building on each other's vehicles as we're all doing things in motion. Okie doke. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And I'll save the chat stuff too. Oh, I better figure out how to do that. I think that does it automatically.
Thanks.
Save chat. Okay.
Bye, Rebecca. Thanks
Okay,
so much.
bye. Yeah, take care.
Yeah, you too.